In this video, you will learn why it is useless to fight your fear, why fear is necessary for the universe, and how it is inextricably linked to love. I will also share 2 techniques that allow you not to fight fear, but to go beyond it. I use them in my life, and I know for a fact that they work. I have seen fear ruin people's lives many times, because if you're afraid of something, it's almost certain to happen. If you're fearful of losing, you're nearly certain to lose. And if you fight fear, life is spent fighting a fight you will lose anyway. You will learn how to see your own life and your fear completely differently and understand how to work with fear. Why is fear a part of our life? To understand the essence of fear, you need to know the essence of love because they are closely related. Love is the foundation of the world, except that love itself as a state cannot exist alone in our world, because one of the primary laws of the world is the law of polarity. Our world is based on polarity, the simultaneous existence and mutual balance of opposites. For love to exist at one end, its opposite must exist at the other. Many people think that the opposite of love is hate, but it isn't. The opposite of love is fear. Why fear? Because the basis of love is unity. Love is a feeling of oneness with the one or thing you love. The basis of fear is separation. What I am one with, I will never fear. I fear something separate from me because it is separate. Beloved people are not to be feared. If I am one with the world, I have nothing to fear. But I have things to fear if the world and I are separate. One can only fear the world if one feels separate from it. That is, there is love as the feeling of unity, as the quintessence of unity, and there is fear as the feeling of separateness, as the essence of separateness. That is why fear is the opposite of love. All negative emotions originate in fear in the sense of separation. And in fear lie the origins of all hostility and violence. Hostility comes from fear. Violence is an attempt to destroy one's fear and get rid of it. An animal attacks when it is afraid. So does man. Only man's fear can be much more extensive than the beast's. Man is terrified of losing his life, possessions, relationships, benefits, power, and sense of superiority. Therefore, anger, rejection, judgment, jealousy, envy, jealousy, all these feelings come from fear. The desire for power over people and for violence also comes from fear. That is, fear is a complex feeling. Why is fear needed if it carries so many negative feelings? How beautiful the world could be without fear. But the fear is necessary so that one can feel love. Love is a feeling of unity, but you will not feel the warmth of unity unless you know the ice of separation. The heart will not open with love unless it has a chance to contract with fear. Therefore, fear is one pole of the grand polarity of fear-love. The fear-love polarity is one of the 3 great polarities that define our world. Fear is the flip side of love. Without it, we would not be able to feel that love is exactly love. How does the fear-love polarity define your life? The polarity, fear-love, can be simplified as a line. One end of this line is 100% fear, absolute separation. The other is 100% love, absolute unity. In between are intermediate values: 75% fear, 25% love, 50% fear, 50% love, 25% fear, 75% love. One cannot exist without the other, because the sum at each point of this line must yield 100%. Anything that is not filled with one state is immediately filled with another. That's how polarity works. Fear and love are closely interconnected. One does not exist without another. Every phenomenon and every deed in life can be placed on this line. You betrayed your dream. How much fear is in it? How much love? Abandoned your work for the woman or a man you love. Is it fear or love? Of course, it's both. Why do I say it's always connected? Love often casts a shadow in the form of fear of losing it and vice versa. The shackles of fear point the way to true love. Love and fear are inextricably linked, though they are opposites. Your happiness and joy in life are determined by being on this line. The closer you are to the pole of love, the closer you are to God, and the happier you are, the more you see that the foundation of the world is love. If you are closer to the pole of fear, it appears that the world's foundation is fear. And even formal veneration of God does not save you, because God is also seen as fearful and punishing. Since the evolution of the soul begins with this line in the position closer to fear, it becomes clear why so many people believe in violence and consider fear and violence to be the basis of the world. Fear is the foundation for low-level consciousness. At the initial stage of soul development, at low levels of consciousness, fear plays a more significant role than love. It is essential to realize this when interacting with people and looking inside yourself. Why? Because in the physical world around us, the quantum unity index is close to 0. Here in this world, we are separate physical objects. We live in a physical body. We have our inner I, our personality, that infamous ego, which is attached to the physical body. And the first task of this I-ego is to provide survival of ourselves and this body, and here fear is an indispensable tool. Fear ensures survival. It signals danger. When you are a separate object, living in a world full of other separate objects and fighting for resources, the world does look hostile. If you don't fight, you lose. Survival of the fittest is the law of the jungle, the law of biological evolution. Fear ensures the survival and evolution of the human body. It is the biological foundation inherited from the animal world and the starting point of evolution. Also, fear provides survival and evolution of the human ego and personality. Moreover, a person with a developed ego goes much further than biology. The ego's fear for its existence is so great that it subordinates any available resources, everything it can reach, to the goal of its survival. Therefore, in an attempt to feed our fear, people establish states, start wars, fight for power, and create civilizations. The origins of civilization also lie in fear. Fear ensures the survival and evolution of the human ego, the personality. It is not only a biological, but also a social foundation. The role of fear in nature and human life is reinforced when people are told that the world is rooted in instincts and that competition and the laws of survival are the basis of the world. Interestingly enough, they are telling the truth, but this truth corresponds to their level of consciousness. If we look at the world only from the point of view of the body and the ego, it is very easy to reduce everything to the instincts of reproduction and preservation of the species. What is left to say? Only, "Forgive them, Lord, for they do not know what they are doing." Understanding the structure of the universe, it becomes clear that there is a polarity, fear-love, and your life depends on the point where you are on this polarity line. If you are closer to fear, you have one life. If you are closer to love, you have a completely different life. The closer you are to love, the closer you are to God and happiness, because in fear, happiness is impossible no matter how many resources you get. But it is vital to realize that everything happens in unity. You can't separate one from another. It is always 100% on the polarity line. Your level of consciousness determines your place on a polarity line. The animal state of consciousness is at survival mentality. It is the starting point for the evolution of consciousness, and it is closer to fear. Your mission is to develop and raise your consciousness. In other words, to bring heaven to earth is to live as a separate subject in a physical body, but in the state of love, as if you are not an individual subject, but are one with the world. But at the same time, if you understand the profound nature of fear, its essence and its role in the universe, it becomes clear that you cannot eliminate fear. Fear fulfills a vital role in life and is a part of the universe. It is pointless to fight with it. You only reinforce fear by fighting. For instance, the ego feels the negative influence of fear. Fear blocks the Muladhara, the first chakra, the survival chakra. The ego tries to eliminate fear by concentrating resources. When I have this, this, and this, I will stop being afraid. For example, when I have $1 million, I won't be afraid. A new fear will arise, a fear of losing that money. You are bound to be afraid of something. You cannot simply eliminate and remove your fear because it is a part of the universe. You still have to live with its presence in your field. It turns out to be a contradiction. The main task of life is to live in love, and fear is the opposite of love and cannot be eliminated. The polarity line suggests the answer. It is necessary, moving along the polarity line, to turn fear into love. Only this will truly unblock the lower chakra and allow you to live, not to be afraid. But it is easy to say, turn fear into love, turn water into wine. How do we move toward the pole of love? I will discuss 2 ways to turn fear into love. Rather, it is not a technique, it is awareness. It is necessary to realize the essence and purpose of fear because it is a safeguard against reckless actions, ensures survival, and indicates your love. Fear is an indicator of love because it is inextricably linked to it. But if you use fear only as a fuse, forgetting about love, it inevitably turns from a fuse into a break, then a destructive force. Fear should be used as an indicator of love because they are connected. Let's say there's a young man, Mike. Mike loves photography. He feels it is his true calling. But Mike is a stock trader. He does not like his job very much. The fact that he is engaged in unloved work gradually destroys him. At the same time, Mike is afraid to quit trading and take up photography. Fear tells him that he will not succeed in photography, will not achieve success and recognition, and will lose his financial well-being. As a result, fear prevents Mike from pursuing what he loves to do professionally. Maybe rightly so, because this change could become painful and end badly for him. At the same time, the fear indicates that Mike's love is genuine. He is afraid to take up photography precisely because he wants to. There is no fear of what one doesn't want to do, just indifference or unwillingness to do it, and there is no fear. If Mike forgets about love and focuses only on fear, he will stay in trading, and this slow destruction will eventually ruin his life. And if Mike, while reasonably cautious, follows his love, has a direction, and strives in that direction, he will have a chance to live a much more authentic life. Love often casts a shadow in the form of fear of losing it, and conversely, the shackles of fear show the path of true love. With that in mind, there are 2 ways to transform fear. Turn fear into love. The first way to turn fear into love. The shackles of fear point the way to true love. What does that mean? Fear keeps you within certain boundaries. It acts as a natural safety net. Moving beyond these boundaries can be very painful, and the scale of that pain is not known. Going beyond these boundaries can be so unbearable that it could harm you. But these exact boundaries indicate the possibilities of your development. Why? Because usually the most significant fear points to the greatest love. The biggest fear is being unable to do what you most want. The biggest fear is confessing your love to the person you love the most. That's why it's important to go where your fear lies, where you can find love. It is essential to realize this. You can do this by focusing not on fear, but on love, what you want to feel, experience, and live. When your love on which you are focusing becomes greater than fear, when you move beyond the middle point on the polarity line and become a little closer to the pole of love, your fear will cease to dominate you. It will not disappear, but it will no longer be an obstacle. So you have to transform fear by following love and following your aspirations. You have to walk the path where you are real, to your true destination, towards your cause, towards your loved ones, to where it matters to go. Why does fear keep you within boundaries? Why can stepping outside those boundaries be so painful? The answer is that you can only go beyond these boundaries if it's crucial to you. If taking the step is more important than avoiding the pain, you don't have to fight fear. You must go after your truth. Where your truth lives, fear will dissipate. Boundaries will expand and fear will recede. It will happen naturally. You need not fight fear, but go after love. Focusing on your true love will make it clear that you cannot go there. It is how fear is transformed into determination. In anything. Determination to confess your love, change jobs, or to ask forgiveness. The fear is transformed. Simply saying, "I'm not afraid," doesn't work out, and now it's clear why. It is impossible to eliminate fear entirely because it is part of the grand polarity. What works is, "I'm going after love. Yes, I'm afraid, but my love is greater than my fear." That's how you can come to the point where even the fear of death is no longer overbearing. And after all, it is the most essential basic fear. In the words of John's Gospel, "Greater love hath no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends." Yet there is no greater love than if a man lay down his life for his friends. When love becomes even more important to you than life, you transcend your fear and go into love. The second way of turning fear into love. What does it mean? Love often casts a shadow as a fear of losing it. Love as it exists in our world almost automatically gives birth to fear. It is fear of loss, fear of losing what you love. You are afraid of losing what you hold dear. You want to keep beloved people, dear things, dear memories. It turns out that fear of loss, as in the previous case fear of moving, indicates that you do love. But the more you fear losing something and want to keep it, the more love becomes dependent. You move along the polarity line towards fear, and fear becomes not a shadow of love, but on the contrary, it overshadows love. Fear becomes the primary feeling, and love becomes the shadow. As in the case of jealousy, when the fear of losing a loved one suffocates love, fear points to what you are afraid of losing, to what you love, but at the same time, fear can substitute for love entirely. You need to focus on the now to move along the polarity, not toward fear but love. Fear of loss is transformed into love through being in the moment. The transformation is to change the state of fear of loss and the constant expectation of loss to a state of enjoying what you love. You can only live in the moment and enjoy what is happening right now. Right now, you are with the people you love. your beloved, your children, your parents, and your friends. There is no fear of loss in the now. The fear arises when you get out of the moment. You start worrying about the future, and eliminating that fear through the mind is impossible. Because the mind will always find something to worry about, it will suggest disturbing images and reasons. There will be anxiety from the desire to hold on to something. It is up to you in any given moment to experience or be anxious or to enjoy the now. Two common expressions are being in the here and now and living in the flow. It sounds very cliché, but they are the truth. The formula for living without fear. The first part of the formula we broke down is do what you love, where you love, with those you love. And the second part of the formula is be in the here and now. That means noticing these wonderful moments and savoring them. It's not enough to be with those you love. You need to pay attention to these people. Living in the flow means living without seeking to hold, freeze, and forever make it dead. Everything living flows. Only the dead is unchangeable. And in this, I want to point out there is no struggle with fear either. Fear dissolves into the present moment. You focus on the present moment. Your fear dissolves. Love does not become addiction. It does not become fear. You remain on the bright side of the fear-love polarity. Thus, we have two realizations: focusing on love, not on fear, and not on fighting it, concentrating on enjoying the present moment, and not on trying to hold on to it, which allows you to transform fear into love without fighting it. You take fear as a sign of love and move along the line of polarity, and there becomes less fear and more love. It's a balance. You are constantly being filled with love because you are love. You don't fully know it because the ego keeps telling you you can't survive without fear. But if you follow the path of conscious living, manifesting your essence and transforming fear into love, you will surely know you are love. If you have God with you, you will definitely have nothing to lose and nothing to fear, because then you own the whole world. Or rather, it doesn't even belong to you, but you are merged with this world, because where God is, there is love, and that is where there is no fear. In this video, we talked quite a bit about the ego. Watch this video to know why the ego is the soul's guide. Create yourself, for what you create will be with you forever.